Okay, so let's do int class 4. It says for r equal to 2e to the ti plus e to the t cosine j plus e to the t sine t k, find capital T of 0 and capital N of 0 and verify that the dot product is 0. Okay, so let's recall some things. So recall, or capital T, or another way of saying that is the unit tangent vector is equal to r prime over magnitude of r prime, and the principal unit normal vector, which I just refer to as capital N, it's easier to say, is capital T prime over magnitude of capital T prime. Okay, so let's start finding these things now. So let's find our capital T first. So let's first find r prime. So r prime then will be derivative of e to the t, which will just be itself in the I component. Then in the j component here, we're going to have to use the product rule, thinking of the first function as e, second function as cosine. So it'll be derivative of first function, which is itself. So it'll be e times second cosine plus first function e times derivative of second. But the derivative of cosine is minus sine, so here. So we use product rule. And then moving on to this one, it'll be derivative of e, which is itself, times second sine plus e times derivative of sine, which is cosine. So product rule here too. Okay, let's next find the magnitude of, well actually maybe notice here I can pull an e out of everything. Let's do that actually, let's factor an e out. Okay, so I factor an e out of everything, so I get this then. Now let's find the magnitude. Okay, so the magnitude of r prime then, I can put the e to the t will be out in front here, and it'll be square root of 2 squared, this guy squared, this guy squared. Okay, so let's expand this and this. Okay, so expanding this will be cosine squared minus 2 cosine sine plus sine squared, and expand that one to get this guy. So these two guys will cross off here. We're going to have 2 sine squares and 2 cosine squares. Let me write that here. So I get this, and this guy here, sine squared plus cosine squared plus sine squared is 1. So the whole thing's just going to become square root of 6 inside there, so it's going to be, let me write it here. So this becomes square root of 6 e to the t. Okay. So now let's find capital T using this guy up here. Okay, so our capital T is 1 over magnitude of r prime times r prime, and 1 over magnitude would be 1 over square root of 6 e to the t. Then r prime is right here. So put it here. The e's will actually cross off then here. Okay, so let's summarize what we have now. I'm going to erase a few things and we'll keep going. Okay, so summarizing, we found our capital T, or unit tangent vector, was this guy here. Okay, let's now start to find our n, our principal unit normal vector, or capital N. So we need to find capital T prime for that. Let's find capital T prime right here. Okay, so our capital T prime, well, derivative of 2 would be 0, derivative of cosine would be minus sine, derivative of sine would be cosine, derivative of sine would be cosine here, and derivative of cosine would be minus sine here. Now let's evaluate at 0. Okay, so let's stick in 0 in place of t. Okay, so putting 0 in place of t everywhere here, you have 1 over square root of 6, 0i minus sine is 0 plus cosine 0j plus cosine 0 sine 0. Sine is 0, 0, cosine is 0 is 1. So we're going to get minus j there, cosine of 0 is 1, so we get a k here. So that'll be our capital T prime of 0. Let's now find the magnitude of this. Okay, so the magnitude then of capital T prime of 0 was going to be 1 over square root of 6 in front, square root then of 0 squared plus minus 1 squared plus 1 squared. This is going to be square root of 2 inside there, so it'd be square root of 2 over square root of 6, which reduces to 1 over square root of 3. So now let's find n of 0. Okay, so capital N of 0 will be 1 over magnitude capital T prime of 0 times capital T prime of 0. So 1 over magnitude would be just reciprocal of this guy here. So let me write that. So 1 over, so it'll be reciprocal of this guy. Then times our capital T prime of 0, which is this guy right here. So let me write here. Okay, so I've written it here. So then square root of 3 and square root of 6 become just 1 over square root of 2. And that'll be my capital N of 0 then. Now let's find capital T of 0. So let's stick 0 in place of T up here. Okay, so my capital T is 0, putting 0 in place of T here and here. So cosine of 0 is 1, sine of 0 is 0. So plugging in here, we get this. So now lastly, we need to verify that the dot product of capital N0 and capital T0 is 0. So let's dot them. Okay, so dotting my N0 guy with my T0 would be 1 over square root of 2 times 1 over square root of 6 would be 1 over square root of 12, and multiply those, and it'll be 0 times 2, negative 1 times 1, it'll be 1 times 1, and you can check here, this is equal to 0. So it equals 0, so we're done with the question. I'm going to leave the video here, and we'll do question 2 and 3 from in class 4 in the next video. So let's leave it there.